Hi, it's Mr. Smith, and in this video I'll be going over our syllabus. So this is for college algebra. It's considered a co-requisite course, meaning it's linked to another course, DMAT 0315, which is basically the developmental algebra part of it. All right, so as far as contacting your instructor, we normally get back to you within 24 hours. I'm usually much quicker than that, but on occasion I will look at one real quick and I may not be able to get it right then, and sometimes I forget to come back, or sometimes I just overlook it. So please send me another email if I take longer than that, but generally speaking, I'm pretty good about getting back to students. So my name is Scott Smith. My nickname is 1T because my first name has 1T. My email is scottsmith@dallascollege.edu. My office phone number is 972-677-8940. My office location is J127. Office hours will be announced in class. Let's see, if you need to get a hold of the division office, we have an email here and a phone number. So again, this is college algebra. Our section is 21103, so that's what separates us from all the other college algebra co-requisite courses. So like if you go to the testing center, you'll need that number. These are our meeting times: Monday, Wednesday, 9:30 to 10:50 and 11 to 12:20. It's basically about 3 hours, a little less than that. We'll be meeting in room J106. Certification date is Saturday, September 2nd, and we'll talk more about that shortly. The last day to withdraw from the course is Thursday, November 9th. Just highly recommend that you talk to me. Certainly if you have financial aid, or you're a veteran getting money, or you talk to your success coach. These are all people it's a good idea to talk to before you withdraw. I know sometimes students will have a bad test or something happens and they'll make a rash decision, and just try to avoid that if you can. I know it's easier said than done, but what you don't want to do is just stop showing up for classes and just drop out of college, and things change a couple years later and you find yourself back, but you're on academic probation. So try to do things the right way despite whatever feelings you're going through. I know school can be a challenging thing. Let's move on to the next page. So we have a course description, tells you what we're doing in this course. Student learning outcomes, a little bit more on that, a little more detail. Texas core objectives, these are the kinds of things that we want to incorporate at the college, not just in this class, but all classes. Certainly we should be getting better at our critical thinking skills, and there's some other things here, but these are all good things to be working on, and certainly when you get to the workforce, these are things that are valued. So these are things we want to see improve. Oops. Okay, so we have our required course materials. The nice thing at Dallas College is when you pay your tuition, it also covers, like in our case, my math lab. In most classes, it's a book. Of course, a lot of books are online these days to save money. This is our actual textbook, which is online in my math lab. The one thing that, oh, by the way, I do want to mention, in the past, sometimes people would opt out of this Include Ed program, trying to save money, but it's been my experience that they don't save money. It ends up creating a lot of issues. Just don't opt out. One of the things, if you have done any research, Dallas College is among the most affordable tuition that you'll find anywhere. All right, TI graphing calculator. You do need one of those. And the TI-84 is what we use. It is not included as part of Include Ed, so you do need to get one, or maybe you have a friend or family member that's got one laying around. In previous semesters, the library sometimes rented them, but they didn't last year, so I don't know what's going on with that, but that's something I'll certainly let you know about if it changes. But you can also get a used one and save yourself some money that way, because a new one's going to cost you, I think, at least $100. So, if you're going to be taking several more classes, like you're going to do pre-calculus and the calculus sequence, you want to have a nice calculator. If this is your last course for math, then hopefully you can find one for cheap or borrow one. So because we're using MyMathLab to do the assignments, and it's all done online, you're going to need, well, first of all, it's a textbook-based software where you'll be completing your assignments. So for that reason, you're going to need access to a computer with internet access, because you're going to spend a lot of time working on the assignments. It's very difficult to do if you don't have your own computer to do that on. If that becomes a problem, please let me know. So it tells you here how to get into Brightspace or to MyMathLab. It's really simple. You can follow the directions here, but it'll also be in one of the video on MyMathLab. So graded work, you can see homework is 16%, quizzes are 8%. We have 7 tests that are 8% each, so that's 56%. And then the final is 20%. Let's go ahead and go on to the next page. The standard traditional percentages are what we'll use for grades, so 90 to 100 is an A, and so on. Notice the final grade for 0315, that's the developmental math portion of this course, it's going to be based on the higher of the two following grades. The student's course grade average for work through test 5, including the first 5 test scores, or the final average earned for Math 1314, which is college algebra. Students who earn a final grade of D in Math 1314 will receive a C in the developmental course, DMAT 0315. So I do sometimes have students that do not pass Math 1314, but the next time they take it, they won't have to take both courses. And believe me, you'll be thankful. Nobody wants to redo both courses. So at the very least, you want to get through that first part. All right, description of graded work. So homework will be assigned in MyMathLab to practice the material for each section in the textbook. It's really nice because you get feedback. You're going to know if you're getting problems right or wrong. And if you get a problem wrong, you're going to have access to resources to help you do the problem or understand the problem. I do want to say sometimes students will just do a little scratch on the side as they work and work through MyMathLab, and especially if you're clicking on the help buttons a lot, you can get a false sense that you're understanding things. Then you get to a test and you're like, oh my gosh, how do I do this? Because you don't have any help buttons. So highly recommend that as you're doing your homework, you think about, am I learning this? Does this make sense? Is this something that I can do without help? And one of the ways that you can do that is take notes in some kind of a notebook for each section for the homework. Well, actually, you'll be taking notes in class. I'm sorry, but what I was going to say is get a notebook and do your homework in there, so you can look back. Maybe the next quiz is on 3 sections. You can look back at the problems, and maybe you made some notes of some things you had some issues with. So you can study that and take your quiz. Now, ideally, you want to take the quizzes without looking at your notes, but before you take your quiz, you could review your notes. But all to say, the same thing is true with the tests. You can go back and look through the assignments that you did on paper for MyMathLab, and that'll help you prepare for the test. You also will have a test review, so that'll be important too. But anyway, just my recommendation, I think it makes quite a difference. If there's something about writing things down and seeing it that helps in the learning process. especially if you're trying to learn things long term. Some of you are moving on to other courses, and so this stuff needs to stick. Okay, quizzes. So quizzes are 60 minutes, so they are timed, and you can take them up to 2 times. And try not to take your notes. Sometimes students will take notes the first time and then try it without the notes. You get the higher of the two scores. Tests, you're going to have 7 tests worth 100 points. Each test is going to cover a chapter or 2 in the course. Each test is 8% of your grade. So do notice that tests are going to be taken outside class in the Academic Testing Center. We'll talk about that when we get to test 1. Final exam, there is a final that's comprehensive. It's 25 questions. It's 20% of your grade. And remember, actually, I don't know if I told you this yet. If your homework average is at least 80%, then you can replace your lowest test score with what you get on the final. All right, let's look at the next thing, extra credit on tests. So for the first 5 exams, which makes up your 0315 grade, you'll have an opportunity to earn up to 5 extra credit points on the test by completing the review and My Lab Math prior to taking the test. The reviews may be taken as often as needed, and the highest grade will count for the extra credit points. So I'll show you how that works. So notice if you get a 90% or higher, you're going to get 5 bonus points, and then it goes down from there. Late homework policy, or late work policy. So for homework quizzes and test reviews are due as indicated on the course calendar and in My Lab Math. It's very important that the assignments are completed on time. Generally speaking, students that complete their homework and their quiz assignments and their reviews on time tend to do pretty well in the course. It's not a guarantee, but it's a pretty good indicator, a very good indicator. Notice the test, anything that's late will have a penalty of 25%. The test reviews may not be completed after you take your test for bonus points. So those reviews have to be done before you take your test. Also, in general, each test may only be taken once, and students will not be allowed to take a test late. So it's very important that you contact me right away if there's some emergency or something that happens and you're not able to take your test. A good rule of thumb is don't wait till the last day because things can go wrong. Instructor-student communication. Now, because we're face-to-face, most of the time you're going to get announcements in class, but there will be times where I'll make an announcement in Brightspace and I'll make sure that there's a corresponding email that goes to your student email. For example, if I'm sick and I send an email out, like for me, they go straight to my phone, and so I know right away. And ideally, that's what you want to do. You want to make sure you're getting the emails that are sent to your school account in a timely manner, and make sure that you're checking your account. So this is true not just for my course, but for all the courses that you take. Again, I've said this elsewhere, but I would just tell you, make sure that you contact me or talk to me if you're having any problems or if you have questions, struggles. I'm here to do everything I can to help you be successful. And I enjoy doing that. I enjoy trying to help students, and sometimes students make it through when they don't think they're going to make it. But if you don't communicate, I won't know. Attendance, participation. So it's a pretty low bar. To be certified in the course, you just have to show up one of the first 2 weeks and start working on assignments in My Lab Math. Of course, that's a really low bar. Keep in mind, if you're not certified, that will affect your financial aid, likely to anyway. But again, you can see if you look at our calendar, which we're going to get to in a minute, that everything, all the work up through homework 2.7 is due by September 3rd. And, ideally you want to have at least a 70% average. My recommendation, of course, is getting that 80% so you can replace your lowest test score with what you get on the final. Institutional policies, hopefully you've been in there and checked those out. You should be familiar with things like tutoring, disability services, and so on. So make sure you are familiar with those. Those do apply to everybody here at the college. And if I need to, I may make adjustments to the syllabus or things in the course, but I'll make an announcement if I do that. All right, I think we're ready to go to the calendar. Oh goodness, I'm sorry, I'm going really long here. So you can see for the first week, this is all that we do. Now remember, this is like 2 classes in one, so it's about double what you would normally see for a week. You might see 3 or 4 assignments. We're going to have around 8. So, but you'll see that a lot of these are pretty short. But all to say, this is your week 1 assignments, and here's your week 2 assignments. Notice our first test is Friday 9/8, and so that is in week 3. Anyway, the due dates are also in my math lab, and so I think that's all I have to say here. All right, if you have any questions, just let me know. Otherwise, that's it.